Lee Anderson's on fire today, ladies and gents. From him today, we got this tweet. Unbelievable. The Labour Party keeps saying they are going to root out that phobia that you're not allowed to talk about on social media. Today, I asked the Secretary of State for their official definition of the word. You couldn't make this up. Strap yourselves in for this one, ladies and gents. I know I frequently use the term irrational commie gibberish, when I'm referring to the word salads that the ideologically possessed midwits that govern over us constantly spew out, desperate to hide their shortcomings under an endless stream of gobbledygook, basically. These people are that thick. They think that if you say a load of big words needlessly, it'll impress people. They have such a low opinion of you. Normal working class people, bricklayers and plumbers and taxi drivers. They think if they use needlessly flowery language that you'll go, wow, she's clever. And as I've said, you learn this when you're in secondary school. A good teacher tells you that you should be as concise as possible. Never use more words than you really need to make a point. And I never do. For example, I could refer to Angela Rayner as an intellectually vacuous, somewhat mentally challenged, famously promiscuous, socially climbing fellatio extraordinaire. But I don't, because that doesn't mean I'm clever saying things like that, when I could be so concise and simply say she's a gopping ginger gobble queen and she's as thick as whale spunk. Right then, let's get into this. Lee Anderson's put 2 banging tweets up today, and they're both fantastic. We're going to watch them both, and I'm going to laugh at the endless stream of stupidity that comes out of the mouths of the low IQ / some of them are low IQ, some of them are midwits, but none of them are clever. And you can just listen for yourself. Listen to the endless stream of gibberish that comes out of the mouths of these people in high office. These are front bench cabinet ministers of an allegedly first world democracy. First one, Angela Ginger Growler. Listen to this gobbledygook.
What the government's definition of Islamophobia actually is. So state.
Well, I say to the honourable member that a new definition must be given careful consideration so that it comprehensively reflects multiple perspectives and considers potential implications for different communities. And we're actively considering our approach to Islamophobia, including definitions, and we'll provide further updates on this in due course.
Did you get that? Did you get that? First of all, she could barely talk. I mean, I know she's had a lot of sailors' wangers between her lips, but she talks like she's got 3 sets of testicles in her mouth every time she speaks. Just listen to this.
To the honourable member that a new definition must be given careful consideration so that it comprehensively reflects multiple perspectives and considers...
comprehensively, but it reflects you absolute plank. First of all, I want to apologise for my earlier statements. I'm doing a disservice to whale spunk there. Well, this here is dehydrated elephant jizz. There's nothing else I could use to describe it. And it's funny that I'd use an elephant for example because, not elephants. I'm going to copy Angela Rayner. Pachyderm. Yes, pachyderm, therefore I'm clever now. No, it's funny I mentioned an elephant because she's also got a face like an elephant's kneecap. Anyway, moving on from the juvenile humour, here's his other good one. Very salient point that myself and Paz and all of the other sensible YouTubers have been making for the last month. We've seen over the last month how quickly we can lock people up when the state wants to. So why can't they do it for knife crime and stop these endless killings? Again, a pathetic answer. You wouldn't think this was a hard one to answer, would you? You wouldn't think that at all. This is a point that people like me have been making many, many times over the last few weeks. As I've said, the technical term for it is anarcho-tyranny. The simplistic version of it is the government doesn't care about you or your children's lives. They care about control and power. And having people terrified makes them start leaning into the state. Protect us, save us, help us. So it's in their interests to allow muggers and burglars and surprise sex givers. It's in their interest to allow them free rein on the streets. And as I've said, Solid Nissen talked about it. So it's okay for them to have a knife and it's okay for them to brutalise people. But if you have one, if you get above your station and criticise the state, you are worse than Abu Hamza, Muqtada al-Sadr, and obviously Big Osama. You're worse than all of them. You cannot be tolerated. So they will have you locked up, tried, and in the clink within 48 hours of uttering a nasty word critical of the people that are doing all of the stabbing and the grooming. It's obvious to anybody with eyeballs, the ability to hear, and a hole in their arse. So let's see what Yvette Cooper, room temperature IQ, craggy-faced, turkey-necked, pro-terrorism Home Secretary. That's brilliant, isn't it? Having a Home Secretary who empowers terrorists. I love that. If she was the Home Secretary when 7/7 went off, she'd have checked the straps on their hissing backpacks. She's basically assisting them at this point. But anyway, let's have a listen.
Speaker, now that the amount of stabbings and deaths by stabbings in this country is reaching shocking levels. Now, we've seen the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister over the past few weeks have fast-tracked these violent criminals on these riots, got them in the courts and in prison within 2 weeks. Isn't it about time we did the same with these yobbos, these thugs that are carrying knives?
Well, as is the honourable member, I welcome his support for the speedy response from the police and criminal justice system to the violence that we've seen on our streets. And I agree with him that I think it is a serious problem that we have inherited such huge long delays in the criminal justice system and the ability to get cases very swiftly to court. That is particularly the issues around knife crime, which again, knife crime has substantially increased in recent years, and it is why the newly elected Labour government has made halving knife crime part of our mission for safer streets across this country. We want to see stronger action against young people who are caught and get drawn into knife crime. We want to see a stronger Young Futures prevention programme, and we want to see stronger action against the online companies who continue to make it far too easy to get hold of knives. We have to have stronger action across the board to speed up the processes and make sure that there are consequences for knife crime.
Sorry, I was just putting a pause in there that was about as long as the one she gives between words because she thinks it makes her sound clever and authoritative. That wasn't an answer. We need to get tough with the companies that sell the knives is not an answer. It's unbelievable. I'd rather have a ham sandwich in charge of the Home Office. And then there was just a wish list of things. Oh, people who get drawn into knife crime. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not their fault. She's saying it's not their fault they get drawn into knife crime. It's not their fault, and it's not Stormzy's fault. It's your 52-year-old granny's fault for having a glass of wine and posting something rude on Facebook when she's upset and then getting 2 years in jail for it. That wasn't an answer. You can lock people up as soon as you have the will. You locked up hundreds of people within 2 weeks after the riots because they had wrong opinions, but you'll do nothing about violent murderers. Murderers in the case of that big Idris Elba-looking fella that hacked a 14-year-old up in Newcastle, and they let him out after 6 months to make room for a bloke who said, "Pop the dinghies, I've had enough." I mean, like I said, it's almost funny. It's almost funny. It'd be hilarious if it wasn't for the fact that there's blokes getting stabbed, kids getting shanked, and women getting folded up in alleyways and banged more than Stevie Wonder's big toe by people who should be either behind bars or not in the country in the first place. So, there we go. That's me for the day. Let me know what you think in the comments. Lee Anderson, killing it. One of the only politicians trying to hold these gibbering simpletons to account. All right, but that's just what I think. If you think Angela Rayner and Harriet Harman and Yvette Cooper are marvellous examples of splendid, strong British women showing the world who's boss, please let me know in the comments so I can point at your comment and make another analogy involving the seminal fluids of large mammals, all right? Seaborn or otherwise. Yeah, thanks for watching. See you all very soon. Toodle pip. Cheers.